If you don't tell me, well, I'm not a mind reader. I'm going to solve it with what I think is important to you. I'm probably totally wrong. And then I'm going to be wondering why you said no. And I'm going to start saying you're being difficult or you're being irrational. You're not getting it. It's not that you're not getting it. It's that I'm just giving you a bad solution in your head. But that's because I don't know what's important to you. So help me help you, and let's help each other, and let's find a solution together.
Welcome back to the Science Warriors show, where we interview the science warriors, the experts, the executives, the operators of companies who have created the most successful achievements and successes regionally here within the Middle East and Africa, and then globally in some cases as well. Today is the first day we're trying out shooting the interview within a studio. We have a special guest with us, Professor Roberto Ordonez. He's specialized in negotiation for over 30 years. He's been advising top CEOs, executives within large companies, and succeeding at their negotiation initiatives. And he has his own definition of success that I would like him to give us an overview about. And think of this discussion, this is more of an exploration, and I'm learning with you. I'm guiding you through the learning process, and let's see what we can learn. And all of us are here, we're striving to achieve operational excellence. No matter what function we're responsible for, what area we specialize at, operational excellence is what makes an operations, a global operations, become scalable and successful. Enough with that. Now we'll go to Professor Roberto Ordonez. So, Professor, thank you very much for making it today and taking the time to join us in this session, on this show. And maybe we could start by giving us a background about who you are, and also please mention the award that you won the past couple of months or 2 months ago.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. What can I say about, I'm what you call a strategic negotiator or a negotiation strategist. And what I do is I help companies, governments, big families in the region with complex negotiations and with conflict, difficult, strategic, important negotiations, basically. And I'm a strong advocate for education. I believe in continuing education. I love to teach. So I spend about half of my time doing corporate training to companies and governments. And I also teach at universities. I teach at Georgetown University, Northwestern University, ESCP, the Central European University, and Holt Business School here around the region, because I'm a strong believer that negotiation, conflict, and effective communications are the key tools that every leader must have, and the value that you can add is enormous. So I'm a big believer that that's something that we ought to strive to acquire. Recently, I was awarded a Professor of the Year award at the Central European University. It's something very, very special, very emotional, because it's a very important university in Europe. And to be recognized in that category, it's I'm not an academic. My business is not teaching. I teach universities for legacy, for passion. I do teach corporate companies and governments for that's part of my business. But university is something that I never sought to teach. Teaching found me, in a way. I'm talking about university. So it's very special to have been recognized in that capacity.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, this is exciting to be recognized for an effort that you have put in place, even though you're more of an executive or an operating executive than a teacher, a formal teacher. What got you into negotiations? What made you pick this field and stay focused at it for so many years?
I think life. I get asked many times, how do you get here? It's like, it's life. You don't plan to become the negotiator. It's the sort of thing that life guides you there. It's like throughout my career, companies started spotting you have a special kind of talent where you can connect people, you can build trust quickly. I don't see negotiations as trying to convince people, persuade people. I believe negotiations are problems that require a solution, and I strive to understand the other party so that we can solve this thing together. And no one, this is not a thing that came from a very big course in negotiations or particular training. It came through life. It's essentially, how do you communicate better? And companies, I did corporate for a long time. I did corporate over 20 plus years, mainly all in oil and gas, multiple oil and gas company, major operators. And I was picked in multiple situations where I needed to convince stakeholders, partners of big development projects that go beyond just the transaction, the money. It goes into building things, big things together, complex with high risks, high uncertainty that requires going beyond this. Like, this is a great idea, let's do it. It's more building the trust and getting people to be comfortable with making large investments. So I got and I loved it. It felt natural to the point when time came to I was an expat. It was time to move and go somewhere else, different country, and I fell in love with this region. I was in Oman at the time, and I chose to listen. I want this is what I want to do the rest of my life, and I quit. I sort of jumped up of a plane with one parachute. I said I'm going to follow my passion, and I started a company that does that, essentially advise companies and governments with difficult negotiations. And then later on I got into training because when you teach mainly CEOs and high executives, they say after you complete the negotiation, the conversation is, well, I like the way you approach negotiations. It'd be great if people in my company negotiated in this way. It would be great if my people in procurement approach negotiations in this way. It'd be great if my people in sales or in business development. Can you teach my company? And it's like, well, it's yeah, of course. So I kind of got into the corporate training space, not as a plan, but more as a consequence of the advisory. And then the universities, it found me essentially. I ended up teaching at Northwestern University as an experiment. It went well, and then I started getting invited by 2 other universities, and now it's one of my greatest passions. Even though it's not, I don't spend a lot of my time because it's not my business. I do it for passion, but it's something that keeps me connected. I think you can have great impact, and it allows you to leave a legacy in a way. I think negotiation is the sort of thing that you want to maximize the awareness of because of the great impact that you can have.
Starting in the oil and gas industry, I'm assuming it was a pure corporate role that you were in.
Yeah.
How can you take what you learned over there and then apply it to the rest of the industries and sectors?
The advantage is oil and gas is a very complex industry. You deal with multiple stakeholders, and obviously the ticket prices are quite large because of oil and gas. You're talking in millions and hundreds of millions and billions. And the type of stakeholders that you have are multiple. You're dealing with governments. You don't never do these projects alone. You always do it with multiple partners, other companies that partner up with you. You have to deal with NGOs. You have to deal sometimes with non-state actors that don't want you around. So it's a very complex environment where it's kind of like New York. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere in New York.
Yeah.
Oil and gas is kind of like sort of like New York for negotiations. If you can negotiate oil and gas, and again, it's not just transactions. You're negotiating ideas. You're negotiating developments. You're negotiating big investments. It's not just you're buying and selling things. You're convincing people of major developments and things that will make a difference in their countries, and that's important.
So what you're saying is that because of the high complexity that the oil and gas had, you could see that there are many commonalities or common denominators between the oil and gas industry and every other industry, because it just gets simpler after that.
Negotiation at the end of the day is human interaction. It's not as simple as that. It's like people mystify negotiation, and that's part of the reason people tend to be afraid of negotiations. It's like because people see negotiations as a fight or it's a battle. I'm going to fight, and this is do or die, and I need to convince you, and I need to do whatever it takes to because it's about surviving, kind of a thing. And that's part of what people usually don't like negotiating or are tend to stay away, or when they go feeling that, okay, I need to put my helmet and grab my rifle and go into battle. Man, negotiations they're just problems. They need a solution, but guess what? You need to solve it together. 2, 3 more people, however many stakeholders you have. More stakeholders with the more complexity. But you need to be very aware that you don't understand the problem. If you go into a negotiation thinking that you understand the problem, I am sorry to tell you, you're delusional. And this is why it's sometimes complex to advise top executives, because they're very smart. They're there because they're smart, but because they're that smart, they have the idea that, okay, I understand, I know it. And that's when you have to, as an advisor, say, listen, no, you don't. There's lots of blind spots. There's things that you're just not seeing, where it's a problem. It's a problem. To solve it, you need to understand it. And to understand it, you need information. And you have part of it. You know part of the problem. You have part of the equation. But a lot of that information is across the table. And unless you have the right attitude, unless you have the right mindset to build the atmosphere, the comfort that people can share information, can tell you about their interests, what's important to them, it's very difficult to solve the problem, because people will constantly be, afraid of you. It's like you have this idea of the negotiator, this big, tough person that goes and bangs on the table, and I think movies have helped in building that. That idea. But no, I mean, good negotiators actually don't want to scare you. They want to be very approachable, because they want you to be trusted, and because you're trying to understand the problem. So that approach translates industries. That's not oil and gas. That cuts across. That's part of what I get into education and teaching, because I want that message to be out there. It's like there is a better way to engage in negotiation. There is a more productive way to not leave value on the table, but it requires a different mindset, and it requires you to approach negotiations in a different way.
This reminds me of situations where, because when I started my career, I did a few years of sales, and the assumptions was that negotiating is like haggling, and then it's an art of deception, right? So, but the truth is, it has to be a win-win situation.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right. So
we live in the Middle East, and Middle East haggling is part of the culture. It's almost like a game, and when you negotiate here, if you don't haggle a little bit, people will be disappointed, because listen, you're not playing the game. But it's a very unproductive game. I mean, you need to play it to some extent, because it's ingrained in the culture. I'm Colombian, I'm Latin American, so Colombians have the same. I mean, Colombians have lots of similarities with Arabs or Latin Americans, and it's obviously the Arabs were in Spain for hundreds of years, and so it's not that Arabs are like Latins. Latins are very much like Arabs. That's kind of where I got my nose from. A lot of Arab blood in the system. But yeah, it's not haggling. Haggling is if you have that idea, then you will be leaving always value on the table. And the sad part about it is that the value that you leave in the table is not that the other person took it, at least someone took it. No, it's lost. It's like going under the bridge in the water. And unfortunately, if you're not aware of it, then you walk out believing that you did great, and the other party might walk out feeling they did great. That would be good. But what you're not realizing is how much value you could have created, and it was lost. And this is for me is a big frustration. And I saw it. I was my last one of my last corporate jobs I was the CFO, the finance guy for a very large oil and gas company in Oman. And as the CFO, then supply chain, it's part of it, kind of reports to you. So you're engaged in seeing all these transactions, that they're big transactions because it's oil and gas. And you see the amount of money that is lost because of the way you approach negotiations, because of this idea that it's a push and pull, it's haggling, I'm bigger than you, I'm the strong oil company, I'm your biggest client, it's not that. What you have to understand is companies are in the business of doing what they do. Suppliers are in the business of making money, helping you do what you do. So if you You take advantage of the supplier, you just put the seeds for that person or that supplier to get even with you at some point. And it's just not a good idea. You don't want to, you want negotiations to be where both parties walk saying, I want to do business with you again. It was a pleasure doing business with you. You treat the other person not as your combatant, but as your partner. You are my partner. We're building a solution together. This is kind of the mindset that you want to have in a negotiation, and that's the kind of that's a switching of a mindset I keep talking about.
What you're saying is beautiful. However, like in my experience, it's been always, even when I go with a good faith in a negotiation, it's difficult, or it takes time, number one, to build trust, and it's difficult to get the other person as well to think the same way. Common value, I'm not your enemy, and we need to create a win-win situation. Most of the time, my experience has been is that they don't ease in. Even when they ease in, there is a sound, especially in our region here. There is it's like there is a voice in their head that tells them, no, go back to the way you are,
It's not,
be defensive, you need to win. It's a win.
It's not easy, you're right. But I'll tell you one thing, it's because of, you said the key word, it's about trust. Building trust is not easy. And you're Arab, I'm Latin, we've been born and raised with this idea that the world is against you. And negotiations get into your identity. If you do something bad in negotiation, it says something bad about you as a person. So it hits your identity. And you don't want to mess with your identity, so you're like always protective. But I tell you from experience that once you build that trust, people want that. And building trust is, I'll give you one of the simplest, and this is not a trick, I don't believe in tricks in negotiation, but one of the very simple things that you need to do is you just need to listen. We as humans have this necessity of people to listen to you. And listening means really listening. I'm not listening, going with your head like this and looking into the eyes, and I'm listening, and then when you finish, you respond immediately. Because all you're doing is you're just kind of like judging what you're saying and getting ready to respond. That's not listening. That is, but that's how we are. So when you do that, no one's going to be surprised. I mean, that's expected. But if you don't do that, if when the person finishes, say, well, let me get this straight. What you're saying is this. I'm sorry. What you're saying is this and this, and you think you may be upset because of this, or you think this is wrong because of this. Did I get this right? And if you didn't, can you tell me more? You confuse people when you do that, in a good way. It makes what just happened? And if you do that enough, the other person slowly starts realizing you're not there to take advantage. And everybody wants the negotiation, and you do it in a way that you do it in a way that you don't expose yourself. And like I said, expressing your interests, your priorities, being a little bit vulnerable in negotiation is important. Now, don't go all the way saying the maximum price or the minimum price I can do is this, because it's like not telling you to go naked, running naked into the park. But if you do it in a smart way, in a strategic way, being strategically empathic is very powerful. It gives you power, allows the other person to trust you. And one thing that's important about trust, once you're given trust is to use it in a good way. It's not to take advantage of the other, because the other is very afraid of giving it to you. If the moment it's given to you, you take advantage of it, goodbye. That you're never getting that. You're never going to see that trust ever again. It's how do you build it, how you constantly build it, and it changes the entire dynamic of the negotiation. Once the person realizes that you're not there to take advantage, you're not there to walk out and squeeze into it, but you're there to help me help you. Tell me more so that I can help me understand you, so I can help you. If I understand what's important to you, well, I can design a solution that is going to make sense to you. If you don't tell me, well, I'm not a mind reader. I'm going to solve it with what I think is important to you. I'm probably totally wrong. And then I'm going to be wondering why you said no. And I'm going to start saying you're being difficult, or you're being irrational, you're not getting it. It's not that you're not getting it. It's that I'm just giving you a bad solution in your head, but that's because I don't know what's important to you. So help me help you, and let's help each other, and let's find a solution together. It's not magic. It doesn't happen immediately. But if you build environment to that, and you start building a reputation as a negotiator that that's the way you operate, then people start knowing this is the kind of guy, or this is the kind of, and if you do it as a company, then people start treating you as a company. Well, this is the kind of company, they negotiate differently. This is why I say it's important for companies to, and I'm working on this, on a program at the moment for this. How do you change the company culture around negotiation so it's more consistent across, and you become the kind of company people want to do business with, and it becomes a competitive advantage because this is the way you do business. And I'm building on right now as we speak. I'm building a program, sort of like a capacity development program for that for companies, because I think it's very powerful, and so that you build reputation in a way.
Building on your answer, to build trust, you also created a tool, a thinking tool. We had a workshop with Stanford Alumni Club here in Dubai, and you shared it with us. That was, for me, that was a very pleasant way of creating a connection with the other person. I didn't expect it to be that easy. Now, it's easy to write it down, but it's not easy to open up.
The thing is, negotiations, and this is it gets complex when you say it, and that's what the tool is for. They're three-dimensional. They have there's a strategic part where you have to see all get into the helicopter and see all the players and all that, and then you have to get creative and look for solutions, and then you have to get tactical. But how do you integrate all that into your head is kind of difficult. When you say three-dimensional, you're thinking about Google. You have to get some Google glasses to see it in 3D. That tool is a visual tool, and it was created actually by a good friend of mine back in Colombia. Very visual, smart way to integrate all three dimensions into a single page. So I developed it since to sort of accommodate to my style, but it's just a way to bring all these dimensions into a single tool, and it becomes sort of like almost like a control panel in the negotiations. It's very powerful and very simple.
Can you share with us, like, how does your engagement with a company? Let's say I have my own company. I'm responsible for the engineering department. I'd like to get a good deal with suppliers.
The actual process is the same for the negotiation from buying a car to buying a company. It's obviously the bigger, the more complexity, but the thinking and the sequencing should be fairly similar. And you always start, the most important thing in negotiations is preparation. There's research by my school at Northwestern from Kellogg that says 70% of success in negotiation comes from good preparation. But people say always, yeah, of course, we prepare. Of course we prepare. But preparation for most people means building up your argument and building all the PowerPoints and the Excel models and the documents, whatever, just to say, I am right.
But this is what we're trained to do in business schools.
And this is, I am right. Preparation is, yes, you need to know what's important to you, but it's also just as important to understand what's important to the other party. So preparation goes into the space of, okay, let's try to understand the problem. Who are the players? Who are the actors? And chances are, it goes way beyond the person in front of you on the table. That person might be just an agent or the guy in procurement there's many actors in bigger negotiations, government negotiations, or there's decision makers, there are influencers. You almost never talk to the decision maker until the very end. And sometimes when they're with big companies, you never talk to the decision maker. But there's lots of influencers that have the ear of that decision maker which are more accessible. So who are those people? And what's important to them? There's people that will be implementing whatever you're trying to do. They have different interests than potentially the person that you're talking with. There might be people that want to block it. There might be people that this is a bad idea for them, and they will never tell you that. They will just be smiling in your face, waiting for you to go to the toilet to essentially throw a grenade into the negotiation. And so it's like, who are these people? And understand what's important to them. What are their priorities? What are their interests? And what you need to realize is that everybody in the table, you think they're all have the same interests. They don't. Every single person has their own. And so understand what those are. And you have to do it initially by your guessing. You're making assumptions. But at least you're trying to put yourself into in the other side of the table. Then I understand the power balance. Okay, do I have a plan B? It's a good plan B. If it's not, please don't go to the negotiation table. You'll be crushed. So you do all that. You spend, depending on the negotiation, can be a day, can be a week, can be essentially mapping all these actors, doing all this. It's a very intense process, but it's super critical, and people don't do this. But then you have to realize everything that you did is pure assumptions. You need to corroborate those assumptions. So now you have to build a plan to go meet the people that are relevant. And you need to understand, okay, there needs to be a sequence. Sequencing is very important in negotiations. Who do I talk to first? Who do I talk to second? And you should have to go to the end and backtrack. Where do I talk to them? When? So you build a strategy for meeting with all these people. And then when you meet with all these people, you go into one of the most difficult sessions in negotiation. That is, now you need to exchange information, and people are not used to exchanging information. So you go and say, "Listen, I want to share what's important to me, and I want to know what's important to you." And people look at you like you came from Mars. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything because people are afraid of you. So I say, "Okay, but you've done your homework." So you spend some time at least trying to understand what it is. So I said, listen, you don't want to tell me, but we've been doing some homework, so let me tell you what I think is important to you. And trust me, nobody likes to hear what's important to them. No, that's not what's important. Well, that's what I think is important to you. So that's not what it is. So tell me what it is, because I'm going to build a solution, assuming I'm right. If I'm totally wrong, I'm going to build the wrong solution. So you start having those conversations. They're not easy conversations, but you start breaking that ice and you start getting real information. And once you have all that, at least now you have a much better understanding of the problem. And this is when you start building solutions. But you don't build solutions until you've done that. And then once you have solutions, then you go to the negotiation table, and that's when you do all the tactical and the first offers and all the persuasion, all that. But that's the very end. People tend to just go straight to the negotiation table with the preparation that they did, and essentially, why am I right? And then they wonder, what did they say no? Why did they say no? Because you didn't. You need to build a strategy. If your strategy is, I'm just going to convince you that I'm right, that's a horrible strategy. I'm sorry. And then you're relying on power, and you're relying on, if you have a lot of power, if I put a gun to your face, you have to say yes. But it's a very short-term solution. You say yes, but then afterwards you want to get even, and trust me, life is long. Things change. You wait.
Things will turn. Will come back again.
And you get even. I say, listen, and this is a technical term. Shit happens, and this is a technical term.
Yeah.
And there is no way you can anticipate everything that will happen in the next 10 years, 15 years of a typical negotiating contract. No way you can put that in the terms. Your only insurance policy is having a good relationship with the other party. If you don't have it, if you took advantage at the beginning, people will remember. And they'll just be waiting for you. The moment you say, I need your help, it's like, yes, of course. And this is when it goes. But what happens is when that happens, you never connected to the not thinking about it 5-10 years before. At that point you forgot about it, and you say, well, but it's happening not because if you had done it right, you would not be having that problem. And this is when the value that you might have captured on day one, you totally destroy it throughout the time. So this is not. Don't do that. Don't create incentives for that. Go into negotiations where you can walk out. The other party is a good partner, and shit will happen again. Sorry, technical. But the other person say, no, I'll help you out. Because that's what partners do. And that's kind of like you want to approach the type of a mentality you want to have in negotiations.
You know what's funny? While you're talking, pictures keep playing in my head. Memories, people, situations. You're absolutely right. There are so many of these situations. By default, we just want to compete.
Yeah, no,
It turns into an art of deception.
I'm a
rather than-
super competitive person. I love sports, and I'm very competitive in sports. But that's the place to be competitive.
Yeah, yeah,
Competition is key to success in business. But in negotiation, you're building a partnership. Think about it. I'm married. When I started dating with my wife and then we got married, all that, I wasn't thinking how do I maximize my because if you did that, trust me, the relationship would be really
Yeah.
bad afterwards.
yeah, yeah.
It's a partnership is about someone you're going to be working with and living with, and a lot of business transactions, well, they're more complex and they're more expensive to terminate than most marriages.
Yeah, yeah.
So don't create the conditions for it.
And sometimes I feel like in the example of a marriage, I learned from my wife sometimes not to negotiate. You shouldn't be negotiating to reduce the price. Sometimes negotiate to increase the value or get a better commitment or
It says it's magic. The point of negotiation is to add value.
yeah,
It's not to reduce cost.
yeah, yeah.
Warren Buffett says price is what you pay, value is what you get, and you're in for the value, not for the price, because
Yeah.
you can pay little and then every saving you did destroy completely, or lose the upside of the value that you never capture because you never allowed the opportunity. And this is why, and this is what you're telling me, you're asking me when sometime in our conversations, like why would you hire a negotiations advisor? It's a tricky question because negotiations are very ingrained in people's egos. And people are totally okay hiring someone to help you with your strategy. You get McKinsey, you get BCG to help you with the strategy. You have a problem, you get a lawyer. You're totally okay getting an external advice because you need an external perspective. But when it comes to negotiation, it's like, no, it's attached to your ego. I'm a good negotiator, man. I know my stuff. And people don't have a hard time looking for. And the thing is, like I said, I'm a Colombian, so I believe I'm a very good driver because if you drive in Colombia, you can drive anywhere. And it's tough driving. I think Egypt is the only one that can compare to it. And but there are always blind spots. And the faster you drive, the more important not missing those blind spots are. When you're negotiating something, the more important that the negotiation is, the more blind spots that you will have. And blind spots will come in the way of emotions, your tunnel vision. You're not seeing biases like cognitive biases of confirmation bias. You will only hear information that confirms your beliefs, and you will challenge anything that doesn't. And it's normal. It's human. You might be deceived by the solution because you're totally convinced that this is the way it's going to happen. All those are biases, and you need, like this guy called William Ury, he's a Harvard professor of negotiation, says it's very important to go to the balcony. You need to go to the balcony and see the bigger picture. But for the people in the negotiation, it's difficult to go to the balcony because it's like a boxing fight. If you're the boxer, you're in the fight. Your focus is on, I need to punch you in the face. The coach that is on the sidelines is looking at how you're doing it and how the other guy is doing. And then, fortunately, there's multiple rounds, and in every round, you come and your coach says, listen, you need to do this, the guy's doing this. You get a chance every time the bell goes clean, you get some piece of advice. Negotiations are kind of similar. You need someone to be looking at the bigger picture and keeping you in perspective. It's not that you're a bad negotiator. Actually, if you're a good negotiator, even more reason to do that. If you're a good negotiator, you actually are aware that you need that. It's that egocentrical thing that I don't need any help. I know the problem. And majority of the times when I get engaged, people are not proactive when they engage someone like me. The people reactive. So I don't usually walk through the front door. I usually parachuted on the ceiling because something happened. So I'm coming to do damage control. When you come, it's a crisis. And it's 9 out of 10 is essentially because you thought you understood the problem and you didn't. So it's just being aware of that. It's a sign of strength to acknowledge that, listen, I need someone to help me see the bigger picture. It's funny, people are more open to get people to train their employees, because it's like, I know negotiation, but my people need help. So it's easier to get people to convince people to do negotiation training than it is to do advisory, because it's like, I don't need advice, man. I got it covered.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
If I'm the CEO and I want to be able to have you as an advisor on specific deals, whether I'm buying companies, selling our company, there could be multiple scenarios. And also to be able to build some capability within the organization. I don't want to always rely on you to come and be my advisor. What's the optimal approach in building an internal capability?
One thing I think, and this is one thing that most companies don't do, companies have people within the organization that are like the negotiators. The people are good at negotiating, and they rely on them to. You shouldn't rely on 5 people. Everybody in your company should have a negotiation mindset. And this idea, and by that negotiation, meaning there's a problem, it's a solution. I need to understand the other party. It becomes part of the culture. So I'd say the ideal is to get companies to understand that don't rely on few people. Build a culture of make negotiation part of your company culture. I'm saying negotiation, build a negotiation style as part of a company culture. And then people will talk about your company as the kind of company that negotiate in this. It's the kind of people your company you want to negotiate with. It's, like I said, it might even become a competitive advantage because you have choices when you choose your partners in business. Well, you want to do business with the people that you trust and the people you don't have to be constantly looking at your back to make sure no one is stabbing you in the back. When it comes to the CEO, is essentially being open to those conversations. Essentially, at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're building teams. You're not doing it all. You're saying, okay, let's build a team to do this. You don't negotiate alone. Big negotiations are not done alone, are done with a team. And what you do is you build that team, and that team has the senior management in it. It's the combination of multiple perspectives that drives this. And all you're doing is, in a way, you're being a conductor, and you're bringing all that knowledge that all the people that your CEO has, your CFO, your ops guys, procurement guys, you're bringing all that knowledge into the team. Different perspectives, different interactions with the particular person, potential different personal relations with, that you bring something very strong to negotiate. All you're doing is the sum of the parts become bigger than the 1, 2, 3 that becomes 5.
If I wanted to rephrase what you're saying, you're teaching or not teaching, you're recalibrating people to have a value creation mindset instead of haggling mindset.
Correct, yeah. And I say, haggling is your natural instinct, especially in this region or in my region. That's how that's what we were told as a kid, that this is how you negotiate with your friends and in Colombia.
And then meet somewhere in the middle.
You're essentially, but that's a horrible, split in the middle. It's just a horrible situation. People think 50-50 is a good solution. Most times it's a horrible solution. Someone is better to increase the size of a pie and then split it than to just take the smaller pie and break it in the middle. And that's essentially, that's the definition of losing value. Taking a pie, breaking in the middle, we did great. How about you expand the pie and then maybe break in the middle, maybe do 60-40. It's still what you're getting is bigger than the 50% that you would have gotten with the smaller pie. But you need information. You need creativity. You need to work together to do those things. But it's changing that. Yeah, that's the way we're raised. And also the power. And when we were kids, the part of the thing was kicking the other person in the face and getting into fights. And that's part of, at least in Latin America, it's part of growing up. It involves a lot of black eyes. But that doesn't work in negotiation in the corporate space. It's just not the most productive way to negotiate. It can be fun. Haggling is fun, But you want to haggle, go to the bazaar and buy carpets. It's okay to haggle there.
Yeah.
But don't do it in anything that's going to be, there's relationship involved, it's long term. That's not the place to do that.
Yeah. Also, while you were talking about negotiation, I think I got into the assumption that it's always about selling and buying. But now, while you were talking, I thought, you know what? We get into negotiations when we do process optimization, when we split responsibilities between departments, when we get into a change management project. How does that, is there any difference in the approach or it's the same?
I said, step back, negotiate. This is very, people think negotiation and people think transactions, buy, sell. The most interesting negotiations have nothing to do with money. They have to do with ideas. They have to do with process. You implementing a process. Then who does what? You have to involve multiple departments. There's something in a way that you want. The most interesting negotiations for me happen is more than the internal negotiations within companies, within different departments, across departments and within departments. Within departments, who does what? Across departments is similar. Who takes it on and the way you want to do it? And there's another department that says, no, that means more work for me. No way. And there's a bigger picture. There's what you're trying to achieve for the company. So those negotiations have not a single. They will transform into dollars, but you're not negotiating dollars. You're negotiating ideas. You're negotiating. Those to me are families. When you negotiate with families, I negotiate with lots of. I help families in this region. You go in for money because you're negotiating. After a few conversations, you realize the conversation has nothing to do with money. Has to do with two family members that hate each other because there's lots of history and bad blood from when they that comes probably when they were kids. And it's not that I disagree with your idea. I might love your idea, but I'm not gonna give you the benefit of saying I like your idea. I'm gonna crush it down, and then you have the CEO and the board trying to do something, and then family members in the board. The negotiation there has nothing to do with money. You go down to more conflict resolution. You go to understanding the root cause of the thing. You go to solving that. Those are the real interesting negotiations. The ones that have to do with people, with emotions. That's where complexity gets into negotiation, and people don't see that as a negotiation. They see that that's other. No, that is negotiations, human interaction. That's a very important type of human interaction, and like in this region. It stops, it freezes. There's boards of directors that are frozen because multiple family members, there's a lot of conflict. And that means I'm not agreeing with you. And you have a CEO with a very transformational plan that needs the board to be on board. And nothing happens, and you have a deadlock scenarios where you're losing value, and it's all because nothing to do with money, it's got to do with emotions. It's got to do with history, and that's a lot of what I do with families. Is getting down. Let's go back to the root cause of the thing. You see, it's like an iceberg. You see the tip. These two people fighting. Why? You go down and you see that thing is a big iceberg down. But a lot of that iceberg, the funny thing is, most of that has to do with perceptions, misunderstandings. That if you just have the right conversations, I thought you were like this. No, you seem. People need to demystify the people they hate. The people you hate, you go into what we call a negative override, which is everything that you say. I'm going to take a negative perspective. It's like if I hate you, you say, "Hey, nice shoes." Oh shit, he's making fun of my shoes. No, I like your shoes, man. So it's you need to demystify the people you hate. Why do you hate them, and then go back and challenge those assumptions, and you might just realize that there's no reason to hate you anymore, and that's when you start connecting the pieces. People don't see it as a negotiation. That's an important negotiation, but people don't see it as that. So you need to redefine what negotiation is.
When is the right time to involve an advisor like yourself? Most situations would be an overkill to bring someone of your expertise, or.
One thing is be proactive. Basically, you you involve someone like me when it's high value, there's value to be created, and it needs to be certain values so to justify the cost of an advisor. But if you train your people to be good negotiators, then you don't. Negotiations are about being proactive. You don't. It is easy to solve problems before they occur. Solving the problems when they are happening is a lot more difficult. So, but you need people with the right kind of mindset that see negotiations as collaborative solutions, so that when negotiations start, they start approaching the counterparty with that approach. And if you do that, then likely, if the negotiations are normal negotiations, you don't need to involve someone like me. If the negotiation is large and it's like, listen, the cost of the advisor, it's in the 0.0000 of the actual value of the negotiation, why not? It's like, I have blind spots. If you can have someone that can tell you there's a car here, well, you probably have less chances to crash. So if the negotiation is important, it has value, especially if missing something is gonna make you lose a lot of money, then get
to reduce the risk.
Get not me. Get someone like me. Get an advisor to help you identify those blind spots.
You just need someone out there to look for those blind spots, protect you.
It's not that you're not a good. Actually, makes you a good negotiator. Being aware of that makes you a good negotiator. You say, listen, if missing a spot is going to cost me multiple millions of dollars, get some help. It costs you a lot less than that.
Yeah.
And also will make you, in the process, you'll become a better negotiator. And negotiation is an everlasting skill. You constantly learning negotiation. It's a like most skills, it's a never-ending journey. Negotiations are a never-ending journey. You're constantly learning because you constantly have new experiences and you constantly say, oh shit, there's tweaks that you have to do. So value. If there's value that you are likely to lose or value that are likely to acquire by getting someone to help you out, if that value is important, get help. And by the way, you don't need to tell people that you get it.
Yeah.
Part of what, like, is, like, for example, people tell me, who are your clients? I don't get to tell anybody.
Yeah.
Because most negotiators work you don't tell anybody who you work for. So you get to claim the credit. The negotiator it's always in the back. You don't, it's sort of like a silent warrior helping you out, but you're the boxer.
Nice. In line with the science warriors.
Yeah, no one is looking. When Tyson wins, no one is saying Tyson has a great coach.
Yeah.
People say Tyson has is a good fighter.
Yeah.
But if Tyson doesn't have a good coach, it wouldn't be Tyson.
Yeah, true.
Simple as that. So it's just being aware of that.
Excellent.
If there is value, get some advice. The same way you get advice in strategy, the same way you get advice in conflict.
Amazing. This brings us to the last question. It's a signature question we ask all the guests. 50 years from now, what do you want people to remember about you?
My mission is to change people's negotiation mindset, people's approach to negotiation. It's changing this idea that when you negotiate, you're going into a fight. That is about persuasion. That is about power and pushing the other person to come. It's moving people, transforming people's mindsets from the need to persuade to the need to understand the other party because you're solving a problem. That has become my mission in life. That is why I teach. That is why we're doing this, is to deliver that message. I want people to, in 50 years, if there's one thing if you can did a little bit of contribution to the world, and man, in the world that we're living these days, with all the geopolitics that we have around this region, we need better negotiators. And that's my mission.
Amazing. There will be more wins than the bad situations we're talking about.
More wins, less conflict.
Yeah, less conflict, yes.
As well.
Thank you, Professor. So if someone wants to learn more about you, where do they follow you?
Just connect with me on LinkedIn, Roberto Ordonez, you'll see And well, there's my website.
Yeah, we'll
It's
share it
Alchemia
with the
Catalyst.
audience.
But probably easiest is connect on LinkedIn. I try to every 2-3 weeks to share some insights around negotiation. Again, to deliver that message, to contribute to the knowledge base of making people better negotiators.
Excellent. Thank you. We will add all of these details in the caption of all of these videos.
And thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you. That was fun.
It was a
and
pleasure.
I learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to future interactions and maybe inviting you again.
There'll be more.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That wraps up today's interview with Professor Roberto Ordonez. His passion for helping people become better negotiators is truly inspiring. And this conversation was full of insights that help us see negotiation from a different perspective. As he put it, negotiation at the end of the day is human interaction to solve problems and build solutions, common solutions that will create a win-win situation for both parties. It's not a fight and a way to try to trick each other into failing or losing or winning at the expense of the other party. You'll find the links to his work and the link to his LinkedIn profile and Alchemia Catalyst is his company in the description below. So you can learn more about his work, his frameworks, and stay connected with him. Thank you again for joining us in this episode. If you found it useful, please make sure you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you share it with your network. And if you have any recommendations, please share your recommendations with us in the comments below. We're just concluding the first season and we'd love to look at ways to improve the second season and future episodes. Thank you again, and this is Adel Hameed with you, reminding you that every market breakthrough and successful transformation has a science warrior behind them. And these science warriors are engineers. They engineer sustainable success through methodical innovation and operational excellence. Until next time, keep innovating, keep pushing the boundaries, and have a great day.